Doomsday 3.
We're in Doomsday 1. He came from one of the toughest areas of Phoenix. Most of his friends.
You got people on the defense talking about it. You better get your ass involved. You better get involved.
I just got to say, when it comes for Dallas Cowboys, well,
That's different. Had you stayed
For sure, because they would have thrown it off. Because
and I go to bed every night like, gee, man, I promise you that. We What is up, Cowboys Nation? Your boy Mike Tag here. Hope everything is going well. Just wanted to give you a little good morning. Maybe grabbing your coffees, kind of getting things rolling. And well, hold on a second. I have a little feedback issues. Let me get that straightened out. But hopefully you guys are doing well. Good morning. Make sure you guys hit that like, subscribe, share. We've been having a good time. I'm always bad for begging for that. You know, I ain't too proud to beg. If you guys are watching this and you guys are enjoying what we are bringing, the best way you can reward us is a little subscribe, hit that like button, share it with Cowboys Nation, because there's still a lot of people that don't know that we're running this thing in the cave. So definitely having a good time, and hopefully you guys really enjoyed that video with Kevin Gogan. That was a treat, man. He said he was coming in unfiltered, and he sure did. And, you know, the stories, I don't know if I laughed that much in an hour in a long time. So it was a lot of fun, and we got more of that coming. There was a funny story he talked about, really wasn't funny in the situation, but it was with Tom Landry when there was a threat on his life, and they had they had to dress up a coach. And then one of the other players they wanted one of the players to stand by him. He was like, I ain't standing by him. Well, that was Crawford Kerr, offensive lineman for the Cowboys, again in that mid-'80s into 1990. Well, he lives over my way, man. So I reached out to him and said, hey, man, Kevin Gogan said you got some stories to tell. And we talked for about a half hour, and he had some great stories. Actually, he lives in my neck of the woods. So he's either going to maybe come into the cave, and we're going to do a live show with him here, hanging out and just kind of mixing it up a little bit. He has another perspective because he came in through, more of the Tom Landry part, and in the Jimmy, he had a different Jimmy Johnson experience. So it's going to be interesting to get his take on it. But he's a very successful business guy. He's actually finishing up a book. So we'll talk a little bit about that. Good morning, Vince. Yeah, Kevin Gogan. It was so good. It exceeded expectations, and I think it led to something. And I was watching Troy Aikman. He was talking at one of his events, a charity event, and they were talking about culture. And I know this is kind of like the hot thing, Cowboys and Cowboys Nation and the haters in the media, they all gravitate to something during the offseason. So culture is the big thing. That's the big topic. You hear it everywhere. And you heard Kevin Gogan kind of talking about it, and really the difference, and not to be a boomer and not to go way back, but the difference with a lot of these teams back then is there was a camaraderie built. Those guys were built, and they built a bond through misery, as Troy Aikman's in 2 days, 2 weeks in a row. Appreciate that, man. Appreciate the support. And so they just had like an us against them mentality where they built that. And today's game is just different. You have social media is big, the branding is big. So everyone is trying to, create their own brand. And but every team has to do it. So there's no excuse. There's no, this all these other, Dallas is the only team that has this. These other teams haven't. Now, granted, the Cowboys are a bigger spotlight, so it gets shown on them a little bit more. But the other team's got to deal with it. So there's really no excuse for that. I think the culture is really up to the players and the coaches to create that. I know the one thing that Gogan talked about was Jimmy was an uncomfortable feeling. They cut somebody. They ain't wasting no time. A little different with the salary cap. You gotta, there's a little bit more thought into it because of ramifications, which we'll get into some of this stuff, with the cap. So a little bit different game, little different time, different kind of person. So I think the culture thing's a little bit overrated. I think it's just mindset, and the culture is down to the players and what they want to do. I don't necessarily think it's all on Jerry. The thing I would say, which I've always been critical of Jerry, is the buffer. He's the owner, he's the GM. The players know that they can go directly to him above the coach, and I think that's why you've always had that issue with coaches with the Cowboys, except for like a Jimmy Johnson, except for like a Bill Parcells. There's always been that issue of having a dominant coach, um, you know, with the Cowboys. So you heard the Bill Belichick. I don't know if Bill Belichick, I don't know how that would work in Dallas. We've seen that story with Parcells. You've seen it with Jimmy. It's usually a quick run. But hey, if it brought a Super Bowl, I would be more than happy to deal with it. And if it's a short run, it's a short run. So again, if you guys are tuning in, man, I appreciate it. I know we live stream on Twitter. I know we live stream on YouTube, on Instagram, Facebook, all this good stuff. But if you guys could do your boy a favor, always flip over to YouTube, hit the like, hit the subscribe, and even watch on there, because that helps the channel grow. But I get it. You guys want the easiest path, and I'm here to make your life easier. But when you're done watching it, just flip over to YouTube and hit that subscribe, like, and share if you haven't done it already. It's really appreciative. And like I said, it helps the channel. We bring a lot of interviews. We bring a lot of stuff, and hopefully it's entertaining. Try to break, I always want to be myself, bring a different spin, and it's a fan's point of view. I want to, the ultimate goal for me is to have a show where all you guys are participating, where we get a bunch of calls. And I've done the call, and we get some shy people, but we're going to try and mix it up a little bit more during the draft and stuff to get you guys calling in, because that's what I enjoy most is talking with Cowboys Nation. So let's talk a little bit about it. I'm getting ready to go on vacation. After today, tomorrow, I'll be heading up to the mountains. Going to be, I don't know if I'll ever come back. I'm just going to enjoy myself. Got a cabin up in North Georgia. So going to get a little downtime, recharge the batteries. But I got to keep track, because free agency is going to get going. It's going to get going. You've kind of already seen some things going on with some internal guys. And the big news this morning I woke up to is Chris Jones. He was like the most coveted free agent, guy that's going to be out there. The Kansas City Chiefs re-signed him, $95 million guaranteed. So what does this tell you? What does this tell you? I mean, Patrick Mahomes is makes a boatload of money. They just made Chris Jones the highest paid defensive lineman, probably defensive player. The salary cap, don't get all twisted with the salary cap, and I'm not going to buy Jerry Jones with the pie and this and that. If you want to make things happen, you can make it happen. So there's no excuse for the Cowboys not to be active. I don't want to hear about, well, we got to sign this guy, that guy, this guy, because other teams seem to find a way to do it. And I want to see the Cowboys find a way to do it. And it's kind of gotten frustrating for the Cowboy fans like us, who are loyal, who've been riding this thing for a long time, who have to hear the 28 years, 29 years, God forbid it'll be 30 years, whatever that goes up to. We need to shake things up. If you're doing the same thing over and over and over again, getting the same results, well, then you're just being stupid. And I think one of the things the Cowboys have done is they haven't been aggressive in free agency. They've always kind of been the bargain basement shoppers. I don't mean that in a negative way, but they always let that first wave go, and they find the deals that bring a lot of value back to the organization from a monetary standpoint. And, sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. I think it worked really well for Stephon Gilmore, and I hope they bring him back. I know he wants to come back. I hope that works out. Brandon Cooks last year, I thought that was a really good signing. Once they got him kind of going in the offense, I thought he was a big threat. So, hopefully, obviously, they build upon that and get that going. But you got to see some activity, and you got to get some hitters. And they always go back to Brandon Carr and they paid him all that money. And that was really the last big free agent money splash they did. Did they get the return? Probably not, but that was a lot of money. And, they overpaid for him, but he was solid. I mean, he wasn't a scrub. I mean, he was steady. He wasn't a top cornerback like you paid him, but it wasn't like he was out of the league in a year. I think he fulfilled his contract. They just let him go when it was done. So they've restructured Zach, which I think that was good, or just move the money around. So there's ways to do it. The key is it's now Sunday. They're under the cap by just like $1 million or something, but they've got to get they got to get Dak done, right? That's going to free up the most money. And then they got CD he going to get paid, but they can do that to where they backload some of that to where it frees up even more money. They've got Steele and Diggs. They can always restructure. And that's the thing with these contracts. It's just restructure. The guaranteed money is what you look at. And then that's how they move the money around. That's why I say the salary cap to me is a joke. So I just think the Cowboys can be active if they want to be. And the question's going to be, do they want to be? And you heard that they've given Gallup permission to seek a trade. I don't really know. What's up, Cuts? I saw that one thing, the cut you did for the fantasy football champ. I'm a little jealous I didn't win. We need to figure out maybe there's a way I can kind of finagle the standings or something to help your boy out, man, because that thing is badass. And I'll just say for you guys watching now, Cuts by Jones. Find him on Twitter. Find him on Facebook. Find him on Instagram. He does the best cuts in the business. Custom, just beautiful pieces. It can be Cowboys related. It can be other teams except Philly. I think Cuts and I have an agreement that there'll be no Philly stuff being cut by him. But family, he did a family picture for me of my family at their first game. Beautiful, sits in our living room. So he does beautiful pieces. So go check it out. Don't have to be a fan of the Cowboys. He will do anything. And it can be, it could be personal. It could be sports. It could be your child's athletics. It could be anything. So just make sure you guys check him out because he's doing awesome things and puts up great work, but he's really even a better person and someone I'm proud to call a friend now over a couple years, maybe a tailgate, our first meeting. And, we've told the story. So there's a lot of cool things with Cuts, and I'm looking forward to getting back out there. And I'm looking to get back out there with you guys and hanging with Cowboys Nation. But what I need is this Cowboys to get a little bit more active in free agency this year. So the big question is running back. To me, that's one of the big ones. The big one on offense is running back. I don't know if you guys agree. I like our receivers. I think our offensive line, I think that can be addressed in the draft. I think the base is there. I know they're going to let Tyron go, and we can get into that. But I think the foundation of what they've got, I'm okay with, as long as they do something either in free agency to get some depth, or if the draft, and it looks like, a lot of people are having them take an offensive lineman in the first round, which I have no issues with. They seem to have a pretty good track record of taking offensive linemen in the first round. So I'll go by what they decide to do. But running back, and I know they talked about Pollard, bringing Pollard back, and I've got zero problem bringing Pollard back, but I always have to put a but in there. I don't want him to be the number one. I don't want him to be the workhorse. I don't want him to be all we have. And it's nothing against Rico. It's nothing against, Deuce Vaughn, but we need an identity, a physicality. We need someone on offense, especially to me in the running game, that's going to punish people. And like Zeke in his prime, that kind of running back, someone who can be the bell cow when it's a fourth quarter, we're going to break their will. The thing I go back to, and you know me, I love telling stories and I love looking back at memories, but it's a very simple one. It was Kevin Gogan talking about, and we all remember it if you're in that era, in the 90s Super Bowl years, when they came out at halftime down in Super Bowl 28, they ran the same play, opening drive, same play all the way down the field. Same play to Emmitt Smith, and they ran it right down the field, and they scored. I mean, you want to talk about breaking a team's will. That's the kind of thing I need to see, and we don't have that right now. And, to me, the passing's great, but you need to have a running game you can count on when things get tough. And the examples we talked about, in some of these games where the Cowboys didn't get off to a fast start, or, Dak wasn't starting out the best, or the offense was kind of sputtering. The one thing you can do is if you can run the ball, you can kind of slow things down a little bit, give your offense an opportunity to kind of get back in the swing, get in their groove. And Chris, you stole my stuff. You stole my thunder. Henry and Pollard, I would love if you got Derrick Henry in free agency, Tony Pollard, if he came back on a deal that worked out well for the Cowboys, I would love that because I think that's where Pollard was his best. I think, Pollard was one of those guys, man. You wear him down a little bit, you throw Pollard in there, good luck. He would break off a huge run, and that's what I would be happy to see. Now you got Saquon Barkley out there, you got Josh Jacobs out there. You've got some running back depth, in free agency, and what that's going to do is that's going to bring the price tag down. So you could get Henry on a 1 year, 2 year deal, guaranteed the money. That would be affordable, for the Cowboys. I know they don't want to be big spenders sometimes. So that's an opportunity where you can address free agency, be active early, and go ahead and do it. The thing they got to battle is some of these teams got boatloads of money. I mean, in their own division, Washington Redskins, if they want to really revamp their team, they can do it quickly. They can do it real fast. They've got it at one point is like $90 million under the cap. So they've got some money to spend if they want to. I think the Cowboys, they don't need to go get 50 guys, but I think they should be very surgical in their approach. Running back, linebacker, safety. You can go after, different guys that even an offensive lineman, if you want to address that. What I would love is to see things get addressed in free agency to where the draft becomes a luxury. And it's always been the other way around. I don't know if you guys agree, but we don't do anything in free agency much. And then we're relying on these draft picks to hit home runs every single time, or we're in trouble. We saw it as far back as trading, Amari Cooper. They draft Jalen Tolbert, and they, you're throwing Tolbert in the thing. He didn't work out that well. So that's the kind of thing I'm seeing. But again, this is what we talk about a lot in the cave. We got a lot of interviews. I see a lot of new people jumping in, so I'm just going to say it one more time. The way you help the channel, and I ain't too proud to beg, like TLC said, if you just hit that subscribe button. Doesn't cost you anything. I'm not asking for money. I'm not asking for donations. I'm not asking for nothing unless you want it. You want to help the cause? Get Kelly a better internet service? I got no problem with that. But if you could just hit that subscribe and always hit the like, especially if you enjoy the videos, that helps the channel and it doesn't cost you a dime. We've got so many giveaways. I've offered it. I'm telling you guys, you get to 5,000 subscribers, I'm going to give away 2 seats to my seats at AT&T club level. You guys can either take me, you can take Kelly, you can take Jimmy, you can take Cuts, whoever you want, or you tell us all to go to hell and you take who you want. But those 2 tickets would be yours. We're going to be doing a giveaway when we get to 5,000. We've got a ways to go. We're almost halfway there. But if we get there before the season, we're going to pick a game and we're going to make it happen. So we've got that at 3,000 subscribers. If you guys missed it, we had Mr. Cowboy, Bob Lilly, in the cave, and we got a signed Funko Pop that he signed, and we're going to be giving that away. So we like to give back to the place where we made it from. So if you guys help us out, we're going to help you out and have some fun in the meantime. And then, like I said, we're going to be off this week. Like I said, I'm going to take a little vacation, a little R&R. Kelly may be on, may not. He's got some work stuff going on, and Jimmy's got some work stuff going on. So we're going to take a week off. And when we come back, we're going to be hitting it hard. And like I said, we got another Cowboy in he's got some stories, so he's going to be a lot of fun. And I think he's going to do a live show in the Cowboys cave, move everything back into the cave. So we're going to have some fun. So anyway, just that little PSA. If you can help a brother out, I do appreciate it. But again, I love all the support, love hanging with Cowboys Nation, love talking to Cowboys Nation. And like I said, man, I'm just a fan. I don't know it all. That's why I'm on here, is so we can interact and you guys help me out. So looking at the draft for the Cowboys, they got 2 comp picks. So now they got 7 picks. So pretty much every round but 4th, they got a draft pick. The 7th round, they get 2. So they got some of that back. Now, what you could see them do is maybe trade down if they address in free agency and they're not, hurting for someone. They can trade down and gobble up some more picks and get a little bit more depth. So, no, I appreciate it. It's whenever you get up to the mountains and the peaceful, quiet air and all that other stuff that goes with it, man, it is awesome. Good morning, Edgar. How are you? Appreciate you jumping in. But yeah, definitely. And I may pop in. It's going to be an active free agency, so you may see me pop in real quick from my phone, just doing a quick video. But Jerry Jeudy was someone my son was clamoring for the Cowboys to go after. Denver has kind of had a dumping everyone because of everything they did with Russell Wilson. So Jerry Jeudy gets traded to the Browns for pretty much nothing, a couple late round draft picks, I think. So that could have been something. I don't know if you guys were Jerry Jeudy fans, if that was something you guys would have been happy to see coming to Dallas. I was never really big on him. My brother's a Broncos fan. He wasn't really high on him. So I don't know if we missed out too much, but you know how it is, man. With Cowboys, every time you see a guy go around, oh, it needs to go to the Cowboys. The Cowboys are news. That's one of those media things that just kind of goes with it. So, yeah, we're trying. That's what I want to see. Trying to see, what's all in this week. So it's going to be it's going to be interesting. It was not that good. He's a first round pick. I mean, he has the speed, but I just didn't see a lot of him in the NFL. So Edgar, I will take your word for it and say that was a good pass on the Cowboys. And I'll let my son know that because he was not happy. He wanted him there. So, but on the free agency side, what are the positions that you guys think that we need to attack? I said running back. Obviously, I think linebacker. Is that one you guys think we should go after? And if so, who? Do you make a big move with the linebackers or in free agency, or do you take an approach of maybe, let's get a little value? So you got the guy Frankie from Panthers. He's kind of like rated 1. Patrick Queen's the hot name out there. He's 25 years old. You got Jordan Brooks. He's been linked to the Cowboys. He's 26 years old. Then you got some of the veterans like Levante David, who's 34. I live in Tampa. I don't know if the or the Buccaneers are going to let him go somewhere else. He's kind of a staple with the organization. They've always, a lot of times, are very loyal to those key guys that have been in that organization. So I don't know if they're going to make a move, but one of the names, it's funny, it always comes up is Bobby Wagner. And, Bobby Wagner was supposed to be here because that was Dan Quinn's guy, and it never really happened. So that's another one. It'll be interesting to see if Quinn gets him in Washington, then it's really either Dallas didn't want him or Wagner didn't want to be in Dallas. So that'll be interesting. And yeah, Edgar, that's what my brother was, his Sutton over Jeudy. That's the argument within the family of Bronco fans that I have. That's always the conversation. But then you can go down a little bit. You got Willie Gay. You got Jennings. I mean, it's just some other linebackers that may not be, Blake Cashman and with the Texans. You got some guys there that will be your, just a notch below your top tier guys, but ones that you could probably get some value. And what I would say is I don't think the Cowboys need the top guys right now. They got enough. I mean, you got Parsons, you got Diggs, you got a lot of these top guys. They need the blue collar, middle of the road dogs. And it was funny. I was listening to Coach Campo. We're going to try and reschedule to get him on maybe after the draft or something like that. But he said there was 3 things he always looked for in players. It was size, speed, and is he a dog? And, and that's defense. This guy people don't give Coach Campo the credit maybe that he should have. I mean, they always tie him to being the head coach of the Cowboys in those 3, 5, and 11 seasons. Yeah, it wasn't great. It wasn't. I mean, I'm not going to throw it all on him. Just go look at the quarterbacks he had to deal with. It was a team in transition. It was a team that was kind of, at the bottom of the barrel with everything. No drafts, no success in the drafts, just really bad drafts. And, Aikman was gone. I mean, he had retired earlier. So he had an older Emmitt Smith, and that was pretty much it. And the quarterbacks were just, God, one of them, I think, was Ryan Leaf was on one was for one game. I don't know why I would do that, but I went up to Atlanta to watch the Cowboys, and it was Michael Vick. I think it was his rookie year going against Ryan Leaf. So it was, why would a Cowboy fan put himself through such punishment to travel up to Atlanta to go to a game? But actually, we didn't play that bad. The one thing that we always had, I'm telling you, go back and look at those teams, our defense our defense was always solid. It was always solid with Campo, and I love the linebackers that he had, and that was with Zimmer too, with Coakley and Dat Win. And it's curious to see what they bring in now under Zimmer's scheme. The thing I would say about Quinn, and I don't want to, I don't want to, crap on him out the door, but it just didn't seem. It seemed he might have had favorites, and you listen to some of the things he said about my guys and this guys and that guys. And if you watch some of some of the schemes and some of the personnel things that they did, it might validate that. But again, was it him or was, who had the heavy hand with it? But it just didn't seem right. And, he said he came back for the players and that next year, and I would have liked him to say I want to come back for a championship, but maybe he was gone. Maybe he stayed a year too long. And again, I'm not dogging him. I think what he did with the defense was great, but when I watched it and you really started looking at how that defense performed, a lot of us, and the haters ended up being right. We watched them pounce on some lesser teams, and it would watch them really go after teams when our offense really jumped on them. And our defense never had to battle, like let's say the Chiefs in the Super Bowl, where the offense wasn't going well, but their defense, the Chiefs defense, kept them in the game. They kept them in the game the entire time until that offense could get going and then get just enough to get it over the hump. They always kept it in one possession game. And if you look at our defense last year, go to the Bills, go to the Cardinals, go to the Dolphins, go to the 49ers, go to the Packers, those five games that we lost. The Philly game was probably the exception. That was the other game that we lost. But those games, the defense just couldn't rise to the level of what those offenses did. Now, Arizona was just one of those weird games, and we were down 3 offensive linemen, but that was a game the defense could have easily taken over. You're not playing a good team, and that was a game that defense, and they got run over and run over and run over by, I don't want to call, Connor a bad running back, but just kind of a guy that it wasn't like they were going up against Emmitt Smith and Barry Sanders. I mean, let's be or Derrick Henry, if you want to talk in today's game. It wasn't like they were going up against, this brutal running game that was going to kill them. And then they had a quarterback that they signed, just recently, and they were just kind of just, I don't want to say packing in the season that early, but they just didn't really, they didn't want it. But they absolutely embarrassed the Cowboys defense, embarrassed them. And that was a game they should have dominated. The Bills game just got absolutely run over. The Packers playoff game, people want to crap on Dak, and I get it. And I'm not here to defend him. And something has got to change in the playoffs. And I said that if it doesn't change, then you're just doing some stupid stuff. But I'm not going to throw it all on him. I mean, let the emotions, what's up, Steven? Let the emotions, get away and subside, and look at what the defense did. They did nothing. And every time we kind of, all right, maybe we got a shot, they just go right back down and score like it was nothing. So, as much as we want to kill Dak for the playoffs, there's got to be some accountability on everyone. And that's the thing when we talked about culture of accountability. That's the accountability I'm talking about, of each other. That's how you create that culture. It's like we've had James Washington, we've had all these guys in the 90s, and people's like, hey, Mike, you always bring these 90s guys up. Well, that's the last time we won some championships. And those guys I'm trying to understand and see if there's anything that we could take from those years and try and get this team to get that mentality. But again, it was a different era. But even James Washington said this Cowboys team is more talented than the teams in the 90s. So what does that tell you? It's all in between the ears. It's all want to drive and accountability of each other. They were more in the 90s of disappointing the guy next to him than anyone else. And I think that's where this Cowboys team internally has to get. So you bring a couple guys in, and you got to remember, on a lot of those great Cowboys teams, you had Michael Irvin, you had Troy Aikman, and you had Emmitt Smith, but you had a lot of guys, like a Gogan, like a Ken Norton Jr., like a James Washington. You had a lot of the guys that were a notch below on the scale of superstar, that kind of thing. But you had the Jim Jeffcoats, the Tony Tolberts, you had the Robert Jones, all these guys, the Tuanes, the Nate Newtons that were just the Moose Johnstons that were just, they brought a work ethic, they brought that mentality that was contagious and leadership to everyone, and that's what we need on this team. That's what we need. It's just my opinion. Yeah, appreciate it, Steven. Appreciate it, and yeah, thank you. Yeah, not everyone agrees with me all the time, but it's good if some people agree with me some of the time. So again, appreciate it if you guys are hopping in. Again, I've seen over 136 people hanging with me on a Sunday morning. It's pretty cool. I'm going to be going to a little baseball game, a little spring training game today, hanging out. So I wanted to jump on, but I appreciate it. But again, if you guys are watching me on Twitter, you watch me on Facebook or Instagram, any of that stuff, flip it on over to YouTube. Hit that subscribe if you're not a subscriber, and hit that like button. It doesn't cost you nothing. It helps the channel. So I certainly do appreciate it. But yeah, and and that's the one thing I see it with. I mean, you guys know, if you follow me, I'm a Hurricanes fan too. And I never understood it with Miami, is they have all these great alumni, and then you'd get these coaches in that don't want their other guys that led those teams to championships to be in there and talk to them. Now that's changed with Cristobal. He was a member of the national championship team, so he's bringing those guys back, and I think it makes a difference. I definitely think it makes a difference if you bring in some of these guys, and hanging around the locker room or hanging around training camp. And I know they do with some of them, but it doesn't have, like I said, it doesn't have to be Troy Aikman sitting out there. Maybe it's a James Washington. Maybe it's a Kevin Gogan. Maybe it's just something. And hey, man, this is how we did it. This, been there, done that kind of mentality. There's a lot of history with the Cowboys, and, people dog, you dog them. What was I watching? I was watching something, and they were talking about the playoffs, and it wasn't the Cowboys. It was another team. And it was 34 years. It was the New England Patriots. Sorry, I'm watching that Dynasty. I don't know if you guys have watched that yet. It's phenomenal. And and I would say the Cowboys should be watching that. And I think the players and the coaches, everyone should be watching that. It's a great series. But they were finally hosting a playoff game, and it was the first time they hosted a playoff game in like 34 years. I mean, and we think about it, and it's like, it's been 28 years since the Cowboys won a Super Bowl or been to an NFC champion, all these things we say, and we're about ready, the media is destroying us, and we're about ready to, throw everything away. I mean, it's the Cowboys have been spoiled by their riches, and I think a lot of times is maybe some of these teams post 90s are living off of that, and I think it's something Michael Irvin said at one point. They appreciated and accepted the past of the 70s, but they wanted to create their own. They wanted to create their own legacy, and I think that's the other thing that, and I'm pretty sure these Cowboys want to do it. I hope they do, but creating your own legacy, not living off the star. And I mean, you think about it, for a team that hasn't won a Super Bowl in 28 years, they're still the most valuable franchise in the world. I mean, that's crazy. The star is, I mean, it's world's team. I told you about, Frankie and Phillip and all these guys in the UK Cowboys. I mean, Cowboys are everywhere across the world, and their fan base is like no other. That maybe some of these players, they take that for granted. They take it for granted. But even in the 80s, where the Cowboys weren't winning, I mean, Gogan talked about it. They would be thousands of people waiting for them at hotels. It'd be thousands of people waiting at, different venues and different spots that they're at. So the Cowboys have always had to deal with the road show. They've always had to deal with that. In the days, it was, you didn't have social media, but go back and YouTube Sports Center and all these things. I mean, the Cowboys were talking about every day. You had the White House scandal. You had all this other stuff that, the nightclubs, the arrests, the this, the that. And that's why, even for Troy Aikman to kind of deal with that, he should be. I don't know how anyone would say he wouldn't be a Hall of Famer or he's overrated. Just to deal with the amount of personalities and keep that together as a leader of a team is kind of amazing. And yeah, no leader on defense. I can't argue with that. I can't argue with that. And I think that is one of the challenges. Is I think we have great players on defense, but we don't have the leaders. And maybe it's got to be someone from the outside. That's why I say bring people in, championship mentality. That's what I want to see. I want to see championship mentality players, guys who've been there, done that can tell these guys, hey man, I know you're getting the sacks or you're doing this, getting the picks, and that, man, you want to win a championship. And this is how you got to do. Let me show you the way. And this is how we did it. And this is how it's got to be done. And I would love to see the Cowboys bring in some guys that have been there and done that. And again, it doesn't have to be the top names. It can just be some mid-tier guys, but you can sprinkle that in because I just don't think they have it. They got Gilmore. Who else? Really, help me if I'm missing someone that has won a Super Bowl or had a lot of success, playoff success that's on this team right now. I mean, most of the leaders and most of the people on this team are homegrown and they've seen the disappointment. So maybe you got to bring in, some of these guys to be able to do it. So definitely leadership is something that I think you need. And I thought it was Tank. And I'm gonna give him a pass. I gotta give him a semi pass. I don't know. I would love him to come out and say what he meant. And if he meant what he said in that Super Bowl interview, then it's pretty disappointing. And as a huge Tank fan, one of my favorite players. I got a jersey. I got all that. It would kind of be a big letdown for me because I just hold him to a much higher standard. I just think he is a guy that I believe. And hopefully I'm still, there's some belief that he is a leader, that he is someone on this team that will hold other people accountable. But when you made that comment, unless he was trying to cover up something, and I would love to know if he was, I wish he would come out and kind of say that's what he was doing. But it's definitely, that was a setback for me. And again, even Dak, I mean, I think Dak's maybe he's a leader by example. But you saw, if you watch Mahomes, you watch some of these other quarterbacks, you watch some of the guys in the past, they go up and down that line, man. And sometimes you got to get in someone's ass. I mean, sometimes you don't need to be the friend. Sometimes you don't need to be their buddy. I mean, I have it in work. I mean, I have a team that I work with, and sometimes I'm going to, you got to tear them down to build them up. And sometimes you got to be real with them and say, hey, this is what's going on. And we all have bosses, and I expect the same from my bosses. And I've had that, through the years where my bosses know, hey, tell me like it is. Don't sugarcoat it. Don't give me no rah-rah. If I'm screwing up or I'm not getting the job done, man, just let me know and let me know, let me know how to get to the promised land if I'm going the wrong path. And I think that's where, again, it's built in. But these guys don't hang out. I mean, that's the thing too, is I don't know, back in the day, you were practicing all the time, off-season training camp. There was no limits. Now there's a lot of limits. So again, it's no excuse because every other team is doing it. Every other team has to deal with it. Every other team, it's on the same level playing field with the practices and all this restrictions and all that kind of stuff that you're doing. Player safety, of course, right? It's all player safety is why they do this. But then they extend the games and they got you playing on Thursdays. So yeah, player safety, my ass. So I think that's a bunch of crap. I think you should be able to practice as much as you want. If you want to get better and put the work in, why penalize you? But I know they're doing it. It's a players association. They're protecting their players as well. So it's this whole big thing, but I don't know. If I want to get to if I want to go work out, we want to practice, I think we should be able to do it and have it. So anyway, that's just my 2 cents. But hey, I just wanted to jump in. Just want to talk a little bit with you guys, man. A little Sunday morning, get me going, get the blood flowing. Hopefully get the blood flowing with you guys. Get this thing ready because Monday, I think they're allowed a little tampering, right? You're allowed to start hearing that stuff. And I better hear some things with the Cowboys. If the Cowboys are quiet this round of free agency, and I see Henry gone, I see Barkley gone, Jacobs gone, Liebecker's gone, all this crap, and the Cowboys are just going to go bargain hopping, and we're going to bring back the same thing. I'm going to be pretty disappointed. It's going to be hard for me to bring that hype. It's going to be hard for me to bust through that wall. I might bust through the wall and kick it in just out of frustration, but I need to see something to give me some hope. So again, before I leave, I'm not too proud to beg. Make sure you subscribe. Make sure you like. If you're watching on Twitter, watching on Instagram, watching on Facebook, do your boy a solid. Flip it over to YouTube, Cowboys Cave. Hit that subscribe. Hit the like. We have so many other videos, interviews. If you guys are new to the channel, a lot of interviews with former Cowboys. We got some more coming up. So it's, we try and have a good time. And again, without the support of you guys, the channel kind of goes away. I mean, it's something I pay for out of my pocket. I pay for the software. I pay for all the equipment that I do, and I just do it because I love it. It's kind of a help the mental health part of it, right? So I get things I want to say. I get to say it off my chest instead of staring at the wall or talking my wife's ear off as my kids are getting a little older. So it's an opportunity for me to kind of interact with everyone. So I do appreciate it, and we're having a good time. So if I don't see you the rest of the week, you guys have a good one, man. Hopefully we're active in free agency. Hopefully we're having a good time. But keep that bell too. If you guys just subscribe and you like it, hit that alert bell, because Kelly comes in. Sometimes it's like midnight, and he'll come on some drunk rampage. Sometimes we got to rein him in, and that's where I need you guys to rein him in a little bit. Say, hey, Kelly, man, be careful with yourself. Don't get us in trouble. But no, just having a good time. And you guys, thank you so much. Appreciate all the people that have been coming in. But again, the way you help your boy out, hit on over. Hit that like, subscribe, share. We're going to get this thing rolling. I got to believe the Cowboys are going to do something. So I'm going to hold out hope. I know there's a lot of negativity. I'm on the lone wolf here, but I think the Cowboys are going to do something in free agency to kind of get this thing going. So let's just get it going. Let's make it happen. And thank you guys so much. Enjoy your Sunday. Enjoy your week. If I don't see you, you guys take care. Thanks again.
Give me somebody that's hungry. Give me somebody that's hungry. I need somebody.